Today we're going to show you how this corn ends up on your table and the role that something like genetic engineering and some of the other technologies may have in producing this high quality corn. When we talk about food safety, we talk about farm to fork. In this case, we're actually talking lab to fork because it begins in the lab. This corn is genetically engineered BT sweet corn. And what it is scientists have found a single gene in a bacteria that's normally found in soil called Bacillus thuringiensis, hence the BT. And they put that gene in here, and what it does is it controls for corn borers. And what it means is much fewer sprays, in fact 0 pesticide sprays on this corn.
The sweet corn was planted in 3 plantings spread out over the month of May. This was done to ensure continuity of supply at harvest time. Here we have farmer Jeff Wilson planting the second planting of corn. In this field, he is planting 2 different varieties, BT bicolor and a conventional bicolor in alternating 20-row blocks. Starting at the road, the first block is 20 rows of BT sweet corn. This is followed by 20 rows of conventional, which is repeated 2 more times, making a total of 3 blocks of each variety. Jeff has left a 2-row space in between each block of conventional corn so that he can drive his sprayer through when he applies insecticides. The 4 small bins hold the corn seeds, while the 2 larger bins above hold a fertilizer which is applied beside the corn seed in the row. Both varieties Jeff is planting are 78-day varieties, so they should be ready for harvest sometime near the end of August.
Well, hello there, it's Farmer Jeff here at Burkebank Farms, and we're out here in the research field, or one of the research fields, where we're doing some of the comparative trial work again this year. Well, I'm standing actually in a conventional field of corn that we had to finally start spraying, and if you'll note, for those of you that are tracking the project from last year, the pest pressures build at different times, and we finally been monitoring things very closely. So we were just in here with a spray, a fairly mild spray actually, yesterday, and we're monitoring things on an ongoing basis. We've got aphids moving, there's corn borer moving in the conventional field here. I could take you over to the BT sweet corn, and of course we won't see that over there. And I won't have to worry about spraying that, and I won't have to worry about if I have workers coming out in the field, or us for that matter, that I'm following proper intervals to ensure that everything's fine when we do come out to the field. We mentioned last year, and I've done a segment where I mentioned that any bug that's not causing me economic damage or negatively affecting something on the farm, or animal for that matter, I feel has every right to be here. But then you look at the bugs like the beneficials. We almost lost this little gaffer. That's a fairly young ladybug there. And one of the challenges with sweet corn is always things like aphids. But the question is an aphid a primary pest of sweet corn? And I would argue it's not. They don't really feed. One could argue it's sort of unsightly at times. But they certainly eat the aphids. And I feel I always need to reiterate the issue that this is BT sweet corn, and so it has had no insecticide spray whatsoever on it this year. Now, had this had insecticide spray, and we could actually go over to the conventional, what I've noted, and the reason we're filming this is when we were picking this morning, it was very evident the number of beneficials out here in the corn. And I want to encourage that. So if I'm going to come through with a conventional pesticide, even though they're more targeted than they've been in the past, it's still going to have a negative effect on the beneficial or non-target insects out here. And again, a non-target insect is any pest out there that is not the primary reason you're spraying or causing any either hardship or economic loss on a particular crop. The final point I should just draw some attention to is, you always hear me talk about how I have to farm, and I meaning the collective we as farmers, have to interact with nature, with either last year was rain, this year's hot temperatures and drought, whatever gets thrown at you. But we've always been of the opinion, and I guess my philosophy as a farmer has been, anything that's here that doesn't negatively affect the farming operation or me personally, quite frankly, I don't really worry too much about it. So we've got a fair number of coyotes in the area here now, and there are some on the farm. I'd be more than surprised if they're not watching Katija and I right now. Don't worry, Katija, they've probably eaten already. But they do a good job for rodent control. They do a good job for things like groundhogs. But obviously, I'm going to have a word with them because they're not doing their job at managing or at least scaring off the raccoons. And quite frankly, this is, if you've got a raccoon problem, this is normally what you would see. Not to the point that it's devastating the crop, but, and at least the raccoons, as you can see on some of the cobs here, they ate the whole cob. Where we really get antagonized over raccoons is where they pull it back, take 1 or 2 bites, and go on to the next cob. But this is such nice corn that obviously they felt it was worth eating the whole cob, and they certainly did justice to it. It looks like the raccoons had a corn roast out here, quite frankly. But anyway, hopefully this is the extent of the raccoon damage that we're going to see. And remember, dispel that urban myth that raccoons do not like BT sweet corn. Wrong.
This caterpillar, which will soon turn into a monarch butterfly, is munching on a milkweed plant right beside a field of BT sweet corn. There has been significant controversy about the effects of BT sweet corn on monarch larvae. In early September, 6 scientific papers were published which concluded that the risk to monarchs was extremely low. In fact, one research trial found that spraying sweet corn with insecticides killed the majority of neighboring monarch larvae within 3 hours. But the BT sweet corn, which required no sprays, caused no effect. It is now the beginning of September, and Jeff and his workers are harvesting the sweet corn. Unlike processing corn, fresh market sweet corn is picked by hand. Jeff usually picks his corn first thing in the morning, while it is still cool. At this time, the corn is at its sweetest, and should stay sweet during storage. You will note there is a big divider down the middle of the wagon. This is done to segregate the bins so that he can pick the BT sweet corn on one side and he picks conventional on the other side. Once they get back to the barn, the corn is packed into bags and piled onto large skids. The workers only pack one variety at a time, that way they can more easily keep the BT separated from the conventional. Once they are finished, it is then put into cold storage where it is kept until it is either needed in the market or sold to retailers. Here we have some corn that is waiting to be bagged and broccoli waiting to be packed in the cold storage room. Here in the market, the BT and conventional corn are both segregated and put into separate bins fully labeled as genetically engineered or regular and sold for $3.49 a dozen. Sales staff has to be extra careful to put the corn into the correct bins. Sales are being recorded for the rest of the season to track consumer preference. On weekends, samples of fresh cooked BT and conventional corn are available, free to customers, and all questions and comments are being recorded as well. The biggest issue so far with customers seems to be whether or not the corn is peaches and cream or bicolor or yellow.
So there you have it. You started at the kitchen with the corn that my family enjoys, that other families enjoy. We go through, you've seen in the farm how the stuff's grown, how we deliver these high quality things to you. The technology, there are risks and benefits. It's a matter of maximizing those benefits and minimizing the risks. There is inadequate oversight. It's rigorous enough. It's much more so for genetically engineered foods than it is for conventional foods. And the reason why is it's powerful technology. Let's harness the benefit of that technology where appropriate. It's not for everybody. It's not in everyone's farms. But if we're going to have consumer choice, let's make the stuff available. Let consumers decide.